This is the undisputed list of the top 5 pop punk bands of all time. There were a lot of great pop punk bands from the late 90s to the early 2000s, but in my opinion, these 5 top the list. Starting off with number 5, we've got MXPX. They were formed in Bremerton, Washington, and originally they actually started out as a Christian punk band. If you listen to some of their early stuff, they were definitively punk, not pop punk, but punk. As time went on, they dropped the Christian association with their band. They became more widely accepted as a pop punk band. That's kind of how their evolution went. Their biggest song was Responsibility, and that song came from their biggest album, which was Before Everything and After. Great album, go give it a listen. Responsibility is one of my favorite songs of all time. That's number 5, MXPX. Coming in at number 4, I've got Simple Plan. Simple Plan was formed in Quebec, Canada, and they drew heavy influence from bands like Blink-182, who were just getting really popular at the time. They kind of tagged along with that success in their own creative way, in my opinion. A little bit softer, a little bit less edge than bands like that. But their biggest album was their debut album, No Pads, No Helmets, Just Balls. And their biggest song, Perfect, also came off of that debut album. Another great album. And a fun fact is that because of their heavy influence on Blink-182, they asked Mark Hoppus to sing on their song I'd Do Anything, which is one of my favorite songs. And he actually agreed. They were shocked that he would agree to this new, otherwise unknown band. But he did. He sang on it. At number 3, I've got Sum 41. Sum 41 released their debut album, All Killer, No Filler, and that contained their highest charting song, Fat Lip. This song's an absolute classic. If you haven't heard it, I don't know what you're doing. Great song. They formed in Ontario, Canada, and although their early stuff was definitely on the lighter pop punk side, gradually with albums like Does This Look Infected, Chuck, Underclass Hero, they gradually became more and more heavy, more into like a post-hardcore type of genre. Although their latest album, Heaven and Hell, they kind of gave you the best of both worlds, with Heaven being the lighter pop punk side and Hell being the more post-hardcore side. At number 2, I'm giving it to New Found Glory. New Found Glory was started in Florida, and they were actually originally called A New Found Glory with their debut album, Nothing Gold Can Stay. However, people were struggling to find their band in album stores because the A would put them in a different alphabetical area of all the records in the stores. So they actually dropped the A from their name when they re-released their debut album through Drive-Thru Records. They also re-released it as a self-titled album instead of Nothing Gold Can Stay. Their biggest song is My Friends Over You, which is another banger, another staple in the pop punk category, and that came off of their Sticks and Stones album, which was also their biggest album. Before I get to number 1, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my page, check out my links, follow along. I also make pop punk music. I don't think it's as good as the stuff that I'm talking to you about now, but follow along if you want some new modern pop punk music. And at number 1, as if there was ever any doubt, the band from San Diego, California, more specifically Poway, California, Blink-182. They were originally called Blink in their debut album, Cheshire Cat, although they had a few demos before that with Buddha and Fly Swatter. Their first official album was Cheshire Cat. That was released through Cargo Records, but later they signed with MCA in a partnership deal for their album Dude Ranch. And then for their biggest album, you really could go a few different directions. They've had 3 number 1 albums, being Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, California, and now their latest album, One More Time. You could also make an argument for their self-titled album. You could also make an argument for Enema of the State being the album that launched them into mainstream, that really defined pop punk as a genre. It didn't really exist before then. It was something totally new They had managed to bring the punk sound into the mainstream. And that's a big reason why I'm putting them in number one. But in my opinion, their top album was Enema of the State. It's the album that defined everything. It's the album that started it all. Every single song on that album is an absolute banger. And of course, you've got their top charting song of all time being All the Small Things. But there's really not a bad song on that album. Blink-182, in my opinion, began the genre of pop punk. I've heard arguments for Green Day, but to me, they've always felt more like a rock band, especially once they actually really found major success. But yeah, I think that Blink-182 did it all. They've stayed relevant all of these years. They're still putting out number one albums today. So that's my list. Tell me what you think of it. Who are your favorite top 5 pop punk bands? Let me know.